That's not what that was. That wasn't an eye joke.
It wasn't an eye joke.
No, it wasn't an eye joke.
During a Senate committee hearing, Dr. Anthony Fauci was heard on a hot mic calling Senator Roger Marshall a moron. Replied Marshall, "Hey, what's that word mean?" After the dentist. I'm surprised we didn't get Biden after the colonoscopy.
You had me at royal duties. Domino's is reducing the number of chicken wings included in their meals, and I really wish I'd known that before I had my delivery guy fired for stealing.
I mean, we're sharing a bed together, and conservatives are all sprawled out in the middle while liberals are on the edge, passive-aggressively tweeting. If we want this relationship to work, we gotta cuddle, man. We gotta talk, get familiar. You can't just wait until you're in desperate need of attention and then poke her in the back with your penis and ask, "You sleep?"
A woman in Ohio, convicted of throwing a burrito bowl at a Chipotle worker, has been sentenced to spend 2 months working in fast food restaurants. Fast food, where your job is other people's jail. Google is claiming that Apple's practice of using blue bubbles in their iMessage app to highlight other Apple users leads to peer pressure and bullying of Android users. While Apple says Android users could easily solve the problem by not being so dumb and poor.
A new study finds that 11% of American adults are afraid of the dark, especially if that dark is behind them at the ATM. LA Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani was forced to fire his interpreter over gambling and theft allegations. Reached for comment. Ohtani said something in Japanese. What's wrong with you, man? It was reported that for the first time ever, a robotic police dog was shot in the line of duty. Well, now it's a robotic police dog.
Rupert Murdoch has officially stepped aside as CEO of Fox News, passing the position on to his eldest son, Darth Murdoch.
President Trump welcomed the Boston Red Sox to the White House in honor of their World Series win. However, most of the team's black players skipped the ceremony in protest. Said Trump, "Perfect."
I'm not counting that. It was reported that a man in Austria who was high on mushrooms used an axe to amputate his own penis. Worse, then he was like, "Ooh, another mushroom." I don't know what the hell D-Bank means, but he might have to take D-Ambulance to see the doctor. The Adult Survivors Act, which allowed sex abuse victims to file lawsuits even after the statute of limitations expired, has resulted in several new suits. Figures, because bitches love bringing up old stuff. This Sunday is the New York City Marathon. The marathon is a great chance for foreigners to practice running for their lives.
I'd do it for that guy.
Yeah, sure. It was reported that Diddy once invited Prince Harry and Prince William to one of his parties, but they did not go. Although before Diddy could even finish writing the invite, Prince Andrew was there.
The Florida Supreme Court has allowed the state's 6-week abortion ban to take effect. So now Florida's only remaining method for ending a pregnancy is roller coasters.
Scientists are saying that by using new gene editing technology, they could bring back the extinct Christmas Island rat. Or not. The other option is not. The indictment claims that instead of paying taxes, Hunter Biden spent his money on drugs and escorts. But honestly, it would have been more surprising if he remembered to do his taxes during that time. No one finishes doing cocaine with a hooker and is like, "Could I get a receipt?" C-SPAN suspended host Steve Scully after he admitted to falsely claiming that his Twitter account was hacked. Wow, just more juicy drama from those messy bitches at C-SPAN. The Republican response was delivered by Alabama Senator Katie Britt, who made some choices.
As a mom, I can't quit thinking about this. Mr. President, enough is enough. We see you. We hear you. And we stand with you.
Thanks.
Those are all scenes from her one-woman show, A Brit Much. It's the play critics are calling Is She Okay? That was honestly some of the worst acting I've ever seen, and I've seen Me.
Mitch.
All right. And
This is a really rough episode for me, Kyle.
An 11-day cruise is being offered next year from Miami to the Caribbean, in which passengers will be nude. The cruise will offer pickleball, cornhole, and also games.
This year, Caitlin Clark broke the record for three-pointers in a single season, and I have three-pointers for Michael Che. 1B, 2 funnier, 3 dumbass. After Nikki Haley's poor showing in Michigan, pressure is mounting for her to drop out of the race, but mostly because the dishes are piling up at home.
Trump has his supporters, a group of House Republicans led by live-action quagmire Matt Gaetz, stormed into a hearing room during testimony in the impeachment inquiry.
President Obama this week signed a series of new executive orders intended to strengthen equal pay laws for women. Those who support the measure say that it's a step forward for women in the workplace, while those who oppose it can be seen Sunday nights on AMC. It was announced.
Dwayne Johnson said that a skull of a T-Rex seen behind him during a recent interview was a replica and not the real thing. Johnson also said it's just a coincidence that his diet calls for 1,000 pounds of dinosaur meat a day. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, seen here being told someone's pronouns. DeSantis yelled at students behind him at an indoor event to take off their masks, saying, "Stop with this COVID theater." And there's nothing more on brand for conservatives than a dad screaming at boys to give up theater.
Police in Kansas found a stolen statue honoring Jackie Robinson, but say that it was damaged beyond repair. Also, police shot it because it refused to drop the bat. March is Women's History Month, which is always nice, except for that one week where it's a huge bitch.
The only way this could have gone worse for Trump is if they took away his businesses, which is, of course, what happens in next week's trial.
It's Weekend Update with Colin Jost and Michael Che.
What's up, everybody? A new study finds that 11% of American adults are afraid of the dark, especially if that dark is behind them at the ATM.
A new poll shows that 75% of LGBTQ voters support Joe Biden, but 0% of them support Joe Biden guessing what the B, T, and Q stand for. A restaurant in Texas has created a controversy by putting pictures of Bruce Jenner on the men's room door and Caitlyn Jenner on the women's room door. Even worse, they called the handicap door Rob.
No, you can't do that, Joe. You can't do that. You can't do that on TV. Whoa. Residents in Rome are upset after a wild boar and her 6 piglets were killed on a playground near the Vatican. But it's like they say, nothing good ever happens on a playground near the Vatican. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
DC Comics announced that the new Superman will be bisexual. Yes, they also announced that the Riddler has always been down for whatever. It was announced that Pope Francis will visit New York City in September and hold a mass in Madison Square Garden, because the Pope always tries to go where people are suffering the most. This is fun. A Canadian woman was fined more than $25,000 for illegally importing bull semen. Meanwhile, in the U.S., bull semen is sold legally under the name White Claw. Ohio State University reported that a massage therapist, reported that a massage therapist had sex with at least 5 of their football players. This story was first reported in a pitch to high school recruits.
Police are being investigated after video surfaced of them using excessive force on a homeless black man accused of urinating in public. But I say great work keeping our streets clean, boys. Yes, sir. Anything the police do is all right with old Mikey Che.
A new law has been passed in California requiring companies to have more diversity in their board of directors, which is how I forced my way onto the board of BET. BET. There's going to be some changes around here. Military officials have announced that they will increase missions to train, advise, and assist troops in the African nation of Niger. The focus on Niger is viewed as a direct challenge to President Trump's autocorrect.
Tom Cruise was recorded on the set of the new Mission Impossible movie yelling at the crew for violating COVID restrictions. Apparently, the crew was using camera tricks to make it appear like they were separated by 6 feet, when in reality it was closer to 5'4". Orthodox Jewish leaders in New York City lashed out at a newly imposed coronavirus restriction in their neighborhoods by setting fires and burning masks. And it's a miracle because the masks burned for 8 nights.
Come on, dude.
That's a good one. Come on. Stop it. Stop it.
Sizzler restaurants have announced that as a result of the impact from COVID, they are filing for bankruptcy, which is probably a good idea since the Sizzler buffet is the closest thing America has to a Wuhan wet market.
Yankees legend Whitey Ford died this week at the age of 91. Ford reminds us of a simpler time when you could just name your kid Whitey.
It is dark.
A new Justice Department report claims that the American DEA agents in Colombia participated in sex parties with prostitutes hired by drug cartels. In response to this incredibly irresponsible behavior, the agents have been promoted to Secret Service.
Hey, Batman turns 80 years old this month, which explains his new arch nemesis, Jamaican Nurse.
Apple announced that after 20 years, it will stop production of its iPod Touch because Apple products become obsolete once they're older than the kids who make them. The Boy Scouts of America agreed this week to allow girls into their organization because somebody's got to sew those badges on. Now, again, these jokes are offensive, and that's why we won't tell them on air.
Mattel is releasing a Helen Keller Barbie doll. Just remember not to let her drive the Barbie Corvette. Prince Andrew, who faces charges of sexual abuse, has been stripped of his royal duties by Queen Elizabeth. It's an unprecedented case of an adult stripping Prince Andrew. A group of people in England are organizing a Star Wars-themed orgy, which is just an orgy where you find out the guy in the mask is actually your father.
Scientists have discovered a new species of jellyfish with a transient anus that appears only when it needs to expel waste and on its husband's birthday. A new report shows that the best place in the world for young girls to live is Sweden, while the worst place for young girls to live is on your hard drive. I said worst place.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth made a surprise public appearance this week at the opening of a new train line in London after Prince Charles tied her to the tracks. It's not real.
There are a growing number of nuns who are joining TikTok to show what life in a convent is really like. because when the Catholic Church tries to connect with young people, it always goes well. Hey, good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael Che.
I'm Colin Jost. Well, President Biden visited the southern border on Thursday and was horrified to discover it is being swarmed by criminals and rapists. That's right. Both Biden and Trump coincidentally visited the border on the same day, which sounds like the setup for the weirdest rom-com of all time.
Hey, President Biden made a drastic change in his immigration policy, saying he would be willing to shut down the border if given the power by Congress. It's the kind of unexpected shift in direction Biden usually only makes in the middle of a sentence. The Biden campaign is trying to appeal to black voters as polls show their support for Biden has declined. It's getting so bad, he now only has support from Obama's white half. In her new book, Liz Cheney claims that one Republican called Donald Trump Orange Jesus. But it's like you always say, Colin, there's only one Jesus, and he's white.
The Supreme Court heard a case this week over whether a conservative evangelical woman can refuse to design a website for a same-sex marriage. But, honey, I don't know any gay couple who's going to hire a designer with those highlights.
Vice President Kamala Harris praised Beyonce for her new country album, saying that she has reclaimed country music's black roots. I'm sorry, Hootie? Olive oil prices have more than doubled following extreme weather, which sadly has forced many New Jersey residents to bathe in water.
Former president and current reverse mortgage applicant Donald Trump criticized Biden's speech, saying the words are not flowing smoothly out of his mouth. Well, we can't all speak with the same effortless grace as Donald J. Trump.
Just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Oh, it sounds like someone just inserted a colonoscopy camera.
Mississippi Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith blocked a bill that would protect access to in vitro fertilization because, as they say in Mississippi, if you're having trouble conceiving, just try with a different cousin. Speaker Mike Johnson has also been called homophobic for supporting anti-LGBTQ legislation and saying homosexuality is bizarre and deviant, which are two fantastic gay clubs on the West Side, by the way. Did you guys all forget?
In some great economic news for President Biden, U.S. oil production hit an all-time high this week, and the economy added a surprisingly robust 350,000 jobs. Or, as Fox News reported it, are migrants turning your kids trans?
President Biden said Friday that he would visit the site of the Baltimore bridge collapse because, like that bridge, Biden is no longer connecting with black communities. A new poll shows President Biden and Donald Trump are tied in a hypothetical 2024 rematch, though they're both running 50 points behind. Kill me! A man in Missouri is planning to turn an abandoned jail into an Airbnb rental, which will make it the first jail that refuses to accept black people. Announced that Puerto Rico's only zoo is closing after years of alleged animal neglect. Worse, the zoo is closing. It's being advertised as all you can eat. I'm really proud of that.
A Christmas photo released by the royal family features a bad Photoshop job where Prince Louis's finger appears to be missing. And this is sweet. Meghan Markle said she has a finger they can use if they need it.
In an interview, Senator Mitt Romney said that he will not vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. Now, some of you may remember Mitt Romney. That was my best joke, Colin.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said next week she will force a vote to oust House Speaker Mike Johnson. And if there's one thing I bet she's amazing at, it's driving men away. Fans of the Hoi Fong Sriracha hot sauce are complaining that the condiment is not as hot as it used to be. And yet everyone gets upset when I make the same complaint about the cast of Stranger Things.
Yesterday, Mike Johnson, whose position as House Speaker is in jeopardy, traveled to Mar-a-Lago for a meeting with Donald Trump. And boy, is his jaw tired.
That eventually got applause?
Mitch McConnell officially endorsed Donald Trump for president because despite their differences, they actually go way back. Donald Trump endorsed Mark Robinson for North Carolina governor, calling Robinson Martin Luther King on steroids. Not to be confused with Martin Luther King on Ozempic.
There is a trend on TikTok of people eating oranges in showers, claiming that it reduces stress and anxiety. But if you're comfortable filming yourself eating in the shower, I would argue you don't have enough anxiety.
Officials at TikTok are trying to stop efforts in Congress to ban the app by launching a campaign called Project Texas, because TikTok is their baby, and they know Texas won't let them get rid of it. Oh, boy. President Biden said that he supports a bill that would allow the government to ban TikTok, but only because Biden thinks TikTok is a gang member from his old neighborhood.
After a judge issued a gag order against President Trump, Trump told reporters that the judge said, basically, I don't have the right to speak. Then he added, she's like literally killing me. Then he yelled, you're not even my real mom, and slammed his bedroom door.
O.J. Simpson died this week at the age of 76 after a battle with prostate cancer that was planted on him by the LAPD. After meeting with the Anti-Defamation League, Kyrie Irving announced that from now on he will pretend to not be anti-Semitic. Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving was suspended after he tweeted a link to the anti-Semitic film Hebrew to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. You know, Hebrew to Negroes was also the name of my favorite R&B group in the 90s. New York City has enacted a new law requiring public schools to offer free swimming lessons to second graders, which will come in handy the next time it rains here. Thousands of black women have sued L'Oreal and Revlon, claiming that their chemical hair straighteners made them infertile. L'Oreal and Revlon have countersued, claiming that maybe it's Maybelline. Thank you.
President Biden went to Walter Reed Medical Center for his annual physical. Doctors said Biden was fit as a fiddle, in that he's old-timey and held together by strings. There was actually an error in the LA Times obituary for O.J. Simpson. In the section about his prison time, instead of writing O.J. walked out of the Lovelock Correctional Center, they wrote Trump walked out of the Lovelock Correctional Center, a free man for the first time in 9 years. And it's not a great sign for Trump that even autocorrect. A man in California was arrested after he went to a Planet Fitness, took off his clothes, and threatened people with a knife, which, to be fair, is the only way Planet Fitness lets you cancel your membership.
McDonald's has announced a new spin-off restaurant called Cosmix. It's exactly like regular McDonald's, except that at Cosmix, the mascot is, oh no, Cosby McDonald? Representative Jamal Bowman and Republican Thomas Massey got into a screaming match on Capitol Hill after Bowman called the GOP gutless cowards for opposing gun control, which is a cheap shot because if there's one thing Republicans definitely have, it's big old guts.
A 99-year-old woman in Canada broke 3 world swimming records for her age class in the same day, until finally someone noticed she had fallen in.
The Los Angeles Dodgers have signed two-way superstar Shohei Ohtani to a 10-year contract worth $700 million, which is almost as much as his sister on OnlyFans, Shofit Otani. I thought that was a real smart joke.
A plane in Brazil was stranded on the runway after the plane's wing was covered by a swarm of bees. Bees who work together to spell out, "Wing is missing screws."
Oh, good, another one. Oh, another one. It was reported that 92-year-old Rupert Murdoch is set to marry his 67-year-old girlfriend. The couple is registered at Campbell's Funeral Home. No, boy, this is... The Boy Scouts of America agreed this week to allow girls into their organization, because somebody's got to sew those badges on. Now, again, these jokes are offensive, and that's why we won't tell them on air. Pennsylvania police arrested a one-armed woman who was trying to rob a bank. Police say the hardest part was figuring out how to handcuff her. Now, that's just... No, you can't say that.
An obese monkey in Thailand named Godzilla has been sent to a special facility to lose weight. Officials realized the monkey was overweight when a bunch of black guys kept hitting on it.
Pope Francis ended a Vatican summit by promising the Catholic Church would confront the clergy sex abuse head on instead of their usual way, face down, ass up.
A restaurant in Texas has created a controversy by putting pictures of Bruce Jenner on the men's room door and Caitlyn Jenner on the women's room door. Even worse, they called the handicap door Rob.
Yeah. No, you can't do that, Joe. You can't do that. You can't do that on TV.
Well, tennis player, ophthalmologist, transsexual Dr. Renee Richards is writing a book about her life. It is tentatively titled Tennis Without Balls.
Jocelyn Wildenstein, the plastic surgery-obsessed woman known as Catwoman, has filed for bankruptcy. But don't worry about Jocelyn. From the looks of her, this is one cat who always lands on her face.
Oh. Israel is reporting that they vaccinated half of their population. And I'm going to guess it's the Jewish half.
A church in Massachusetts has created a nativity scene that comments on the immigration debate by placing the baby Jesus in a cage, where he belongs. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby. Pornhub has released, this is exciting, has released their parody of the musical Hamilton. And in the porn version, Hamilton absolutely throws away his shot. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
Testimony during the final week provided some spellbinding moments. In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran put on the knit cap prosecutors say O.J. wore the night he committed the murders. Although O.J. may have hurt his case when he suddenly blurted out, "Hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat."
The bat used by Babe Ruth to hit his 500th home run was auctioned off this week. Also, I'll be auctioning off the bat I used to keep my neighborhood white.
The New York Daily News published an editorial calling for New York to legalize marijuana, saying that the current laws primarily hurt people of color. But since it is the Daily News, the headline read, "Pot cigs catch nigs."
Went better than when I did it.
Tell me you're missing me, I'll be your evergreen, singing this melody to remind you, baby, I need you next to me, we will be king and queen, singing in harmony.
are safer drivers, men or women? Well, according to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do, do you? No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael Che.
I'm Colin Jost. The publisher of Roald Dahl's books announced that they're altering some of his insensitive language, like the words fat and ugly, as well as modernizing his portrayal of women, which will mostly affect Dahl's beloved children's classic, The Fat, Ugly Wife Who Knew Her Place.
Republican insiders are concerned that the rivalry between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis could lead to a civil war within the party, which is perfect because they already have the flags. Hurricane Ian hit Florida this week, and Governor Ron DeSantis called it a 500-year flooding event. In fact, it's such a historic tragedy that DeSantis won't let them teach about it in Florida schools.
Florida governor and Dallas Cowboys cheerleader Ron DeSantis explained why so many residents failed to evacuate, saying some people just don't want to leave their homes, which is why sometimes you have to trick them onto a plane to Martha's Vineyard.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has proposed a new policy permanently banning mask mandates and vaccine requirements, saying, when the world lost its mind, Florida was a refuge of sanity. Then everyone in the crowd took a hit of nitrous and bit a cop. Georgia Representative and cocaine bear Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, the country needs a national divorce, which makes sense because she is the most divorced-looking woman I have ever seen. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is releasing a new memoir called The Courage to Be Free. Even though The Courage to Be Free sounds like a Black history book, he's banned.
This weekend, bitter rivals who have been desperately pandering for votes and trying to force their politics on America will finally face off in person. I'm, of course, talking about tomorrow's Oscars.
Donald Trump accused Ron DeSantis of wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare and called the Florida governor a wheelchair over the cliff kind of guy. Wheelchair over the cliff is also how Melania will finally get rid of him.
Rupert Murdoch this week officially turned on Donald Trump. First, the New York Post ran a cover calling Ron DeSantis Ron DeFuture, even though Ron DeFuture sounds more like a drag queen from outer space. Then on Thursday, the Post showed Donald Trump as an egg sitting on a wall with the headline Trumpty Dumpty, which had to be the easiest Photoshop job in history.
Donald Trump responded to reports that Ron DeSantis will run against him for the Republican nomination, saying, we'll handle this the way I handle things. So rough and without consent. It's okay.
Chris Christie's niece was arrested on a Spirit Airlines flight to Newark after she accused a Latino family of smuggling cocaine, then injured multiple officers by biting them and kicking them in the groin. She has been sentenced to life in the New Jersey Hall of Fame. And now Trump is threatening to reveal unflattering information about Ron DeSantis. For example, did you know Ron DeSantis is in charge of a state where some maniac was hiding stolen nuclear secrets?
Donald Trump said the results of the 2020 election should be overturned and called for the termination of the Constitution. Trump plans to terminate the Constitution by asking Herschel Walker to drive it to the clinic.
After the January 6th committee subpoenaed Donald Trump, Trump responded the next day with a 14-page letter. 14 pages. Okay, Unabomber. I don't know if this is a coincidence, but Trump wrote the letter on the same day the FDA confirmed the nation is experiencing a shortage of Adderall.
A deep-sea diver has announced plans to set a new record by living underwater for 100 days. I feel like the record is longer than that, said the people of New Orleans. I don't know why I thought that'd make you laugh.
I just know from experience in college, anytime I wrote a 14-page paper in one night, I'd also taken a disturbing amount of Adderall. My favorite part of Trump's letter is the beginning because it's on really nice letterhead. It starts, "Dear Chairman Thompson," and then the first line is just screaming. It's like reading a Victorian love letter that says, "My beloved Winifred, who the hell are you having sex with?" A man in Florida said he was surprised when he heard a knock at the door and it turned out to be an alligator. Even more surprising, it was doing the thing from Love Actually. Officials in Berlin announced that women will now be allowed to go topless at the city's pools. But officials also said to be aware, it's not going to be the ones you want.
The committee showed a never-before-seen video from January 6th of a desperate Nancy Pelosi speaking on the phone with Mike Pence, which to Pence counts as adultery. In the video, Pelosi said that she wanted to punch out Donald Trump and knew that if she did, she'd go to jail and be happy. I assume because she owns stock in private prisons. According to a new report, by 2035, more than half of the world's population will be just how I like them. A photo has gone viral of a 98-year-old woman in Kentucky meeting her first great-great-great-grandchild. Well, I wish I had gotten to meet my great-great-great-grandmother so I could have told her, "Don't get on that boat!"
Insiders are saying that the House January 6th committee will refer at least 3 criminal charges against Donald Trump. But after this week, I think he's pretty much locked down that insanity place. Semi-retired maniac Donald Trump has launched a collection of digital NFT trading cards depicting him in various costumes, including cowboy, superhero, and most unbelievable of all, guy who didn't dodge the draft.
During that one, man.
There is a trend on TikTok of people eating oranges in showers, claiming that it reduces stress and anxiety. But if you're comfortable filming yourself eating in the shower, I would argue you don't have enough anxiety.
Fishermen in Florida have discovered a 214-year-old clam that was born the same year as Abraham Lincoln. The clam credits his longevity to staying away from the theater. You never know, Colin.
Some owners of McDonald's franchises are reportedly concerned about a campaign partnership with Cardi B, especially the ad where they claim their burgers have a wet-ass patty.
Oh.
A new study finds that long-distance running does not cause wear and tear on marathoners' knees, but it does sand their nipples clean off. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy seen here wanting to know if you or someone you love has been injured in a car accident. Met in person with President Biden about the debt ceiling and said they had a good conversation. It went so well, Biden let him pick a couple classified documents out of the bowl.
Wednesday was International Women's Day. I said was. Next joke. A new study finds that some New York City rats carry the virus that causes COVID, which is why I always order mine well done.
Well, guys, a genetic engineering company has announced plans to bring back the long-extinct dodo bird, but only for a limited time at Arby's.
We have the dodo.
Nike has officially cut ties with Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving over his anti-Semitism scandal. Kyrie says he's so depressed he might jump off the edge of the world.
Today was was the SantaCon bar crawl in New York City. Yeah, the annual reminder that while Santa may exist, God doesn't.
Thanks, Colin. I promise you won't regret it.
I'm sure not.
In Sarah news, this week I'm finally turning 30, or as Colin calls it, 15 years too old.
Come on. No.
What? When I invited you to my birthday party, you RSVP'd, I'm not gonna be a there unless it's a quinceañera. A tunnel below Niagara Falls recently opened to the public for the first time in over a century. A musty old tunnel letting people back in after years of disuse. I can only hope, said my boyfriend. That's right, America. I have a boyfriend. Don't let the queer haircut fool you, honey. I'm as straight as Michael Che's update persona.
All right. Do you have any real news, Sarah?
Of course. In real news, the U.S. is facing a threat from a highly intelligent breed of pig dubbed the super pig, which is funny because super pig is also what Colin writes on my dressing room mirror anytime he catches me eating without his permission. Has received criticism for his casual dress. And I agree. Those cargo shorts and hoodies don't belong on the Senate floor. They belong crumpled up on my bedroom floor. Hachi-machi. Thanksgiving must have come early this year because that hunk is giving the turkey waddle between my legs something to be thankful for.
A Saudi prince has reportedly spent more than $15,000 to buy seats on a flight for his pet falcons, 80 of them. And then all hell broke loose when they started the in-flight movie, Stuart Little.
This week, Jeb Bush said that he would go back in time and kill Adolf Hitler as a baby, a move that would have left Germany in the weak, bumbling hands of Adolf's brother, Jeb Hitler. The owner of a bakery was sued after she refused the customer's request to write "God hates homosexuality" on a cake. All right, then change it to "I'm running for president," said Rick Santorum.
So everyone saw Justin Bieber's penis this week. Also, everyone felt the need to tell me about it. Like, my friend's mom saw it, and she was like, hey, it's not that bad. That seemed to be a lot of people's reaction, you know? It wasn't, like, tiny enough to be like, ha! But it also wasn't big enough to be like, wow. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, so to all you Christians out there, happy Easter. And to the Jews, nice try.
A brand of peanut butter is being sold called Steam, which contains more caffeine than a Red Bull. Perfect for that creep who wants their dog to just go to town down there.
Ohio police arrested a woman who allegedly stabbed her boyfriend for eating all of their salsa. Though you'd be angry too if your boyfriend was jalapeno business.
It was reported that a Taco Bell in Chicago may soon start selling alcohol, which is weird because usually it's alcohol that sells Taco Bell.
Garth Brooks claims that he has lost all of the new material for an upcoming album after his phone containing the songs died, or more likely, killed itself.
At this year's International Water Tasting Contest, Hamilton, Ohio won for having the best tasting water, while the town with the worst tasting water is Dookieville, Illinois.
A Pennsylvania college student has made a fully functional Batman costume that can withstand punches, machetes, and baseball bats. He's just like the real Batman, except his parents only wish they were dead.
A new Justice Department report claims that the American DEA agents in Colombia participated in sex parties with prostitutes hired by drug cartels. In response to this incredibly irresponsible behavior, the agents have been promoted to Secret Service. According to a new study, marijuana is the safest recreational drug people can use. Huh, interesting, said 1 million black dudes in jail for marijuana.
New research shows that the pre-human Lucy probably lived in trees. So either pre-humans were more ape-like than previously thought, or that bitch cray. Well,
a new study shows that people with a vegetarian diet may live longer. Okay, but for what? In an effort to draw attention to National Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Minnesota, more than 10,000 bras were hooked together and hung from a crane. Well, I do not want to know how Minnesota celebrates Black History Month.
it was reported that Sam Smith has agreed to pay Tom Petty royalties for his hit song Stay With Me due to its resemblance to Petty's song I Won't Back Down, while Petty has agreed to pay royalties to Disney due to his resemblance to Jiminy Cricket.
No, I'm just kidding. Police in Nebraska arrested a man for marijuana possession after discovering the drug in his car inside a container that was marked not weed. It was marked not weed. The police pulled the man over after he sped by their car, which was also marked not police.
The creator of the Home Shopping Network died this week at the age of 79, or just 4 easy installments of $19.99. I want to quote our host from the monologue. Police at Kennedy Airport arrested a man after they found cocaine hidden in 3 cans of tuna. He faces up to 10 years for the cocaine and the death penalty for bringing tuna onto an airplane. October is Polish American Heritage Month. For more information about Poland, you can Google it by sticking out your finger and having 2 other people move the keyboard up and down.
3 rhinos at a zoo in Israel escaped after a guard fell asleep, starring Kevin James.
I'm bleeding out, but I'm bleeding for the sake of me. Damn, baby, you will make my heart beat. 'Cause I'll be drinking my wine. You really did it this time. Don't ask me if I'm...
The parents of a 6-year-old Indonesian boy who is addicted to smoking say that he is cut down to 5 cigarettes a day. Now that's very impressive considering how stressed he's been at the sneaker factory.
The Supreme Court announced that in June, they will decide once and for all whether same-sex marriage is constitutional, which leaves opponents just 6 months to break in, steal the Constitution, and change it to "We the People, no homo."
A candy store in Los Angeles has created a 440-pound peanut butter cup. It's called CeeLo. A man on an African safari fell off a horse while being chased by a lion. Well, that was a close one, said the horse.
In clown news, clowns in Arizona are rallying in support of their profession by organizing a Clown Lives Matter rally. Because nothing reassures people like an angry mob of clowns. Even worse, the clowns are inviting children to the rally, which takes place deep in the woods. Bernie Sanders has received the endorsement of the American Postal Workers Union, and nothing has ever made more sense than that. I mean, Bernie Sanders looks like if the post office became a person. I don't know, either they're endorsing him or they just issued a new stamp honoring Martin Van Buren. It was reported that students in a school district in Tennessee were served meat that was 6 years old, which raises the question, where's Tyler? Disney has received permission to fly drones over its theme parks in an effort to capture or kill Aladdin. A new study finds that people can improve their sleep by camping outside for a week during the winter. The study was published by Hungry Wolves. According to a new study, the antidepressant Paxil may also be capable of treating heart disease, which explains Paxil's new slogan, Paxil, maybe this is what it does?
The royal family announced that the name of Prince William and Kate's baby girl is Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. They chose the name Diana for William's mother, Elizabeth for his grandmother, and Charlotte for, of course, the 1992 Charlotte Hornets. A new report says the best place in the world for retirees is Switzerland, while the worst place for retirees is still at the top of a staircase.
Mitt Romney is reportedly considering running for president in 2016. In a related story, Charlie Brown is planning on finally kicking that football. Disney this week unveiled Elena, its first Latina princess. Oh, sure, but when I call someone a Latina princess, I'm ruining the quinceañera.
How many quinceañeras are you going to, man? First address ever by a Japanese leader to Congress, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe offered condolences for Americans killed during World War II. Abe then asked, so you guys have anything from World War II that you want to apologize for?
Thousands of what are being called penis fish have washed up on the shore of a California beach. Not only that, one kid says he even found one in his mother's nightstand. A man in Kansas was arrested after he was caught having sex with the tailpipe of a car. The sex was described as exhausting. A new study shows that Beaumont, Texas is the least educated city in the country. Oh man, wait until they don't read about this. In the latest episode of Gwyneth Paltrow's new Netflix show Sex, Love, and Goop, a sexologist explained how people can experience full-body orgasms while fully clothed without touching, which is also what happens when your mom watches Bridgerton.
Insiders are also saying that during meetings, President Biden repeatedly uses the F word in conversations. More concerning, the F word he keeps using is forget.
A man in Oregon who had collapsed in his house was saved after his local Domino's Pizza became concerned he hadn't called in his regular order and sent a driver to check on him. It's all part of Domino's new slogan, "You die when we say you die."
Trump advisor Stephen Miller also wants to hold migrants seeking asylum in tent cities. Fun fact, tent city is also what Stephen Miller gets anytime a girl talks to him.
Police in Canada will soon start making people caught drinking and driving listen to Nickelback. So let that be a lesson to all you drunk drivers out there. Make sure the crash kills you. It was announced that Creed singer Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra in an upcoming movie. But the good news is Sammy Davis Jr. will be played by Scarlett Johansson.
The weekend update on Michael Che.
I'm Colin Jost. Good night.
Residents on Staten Island are upset with the local man who keeps a pet horse in his yard, saying the animal smells and attracts flies. But you know what else smells and attracts flies? Staten Island. Officials at JFK Airport say that a suitcase containing more than 100 pounds of cocaine was left unclaimed at the luggage carousel. For reference, here's what 100 pounds of cocaine looks like.
Lawyers for R. Kelly, who's being held without bail, are complaining that the singer is only allowed to visit with one of his girlfriends at a time. Worse, visiting hours conflict with the schedule of their middle school.
And in this week's presidential porno recap, Trump's personal lawyer Michael Cohen, who's definitely a candidate for Friend of the Year, said that he used funds from his own home equity line to pay $130,000 to silence Stormy Daniels. Can anyone in America imagine taking out a home equity loan to help their friend pay off a porn star? The best part is, you know that right after Cohen settled up with Stormy, Trump saw another porn star and was like, she's pretty cute too. And Cohen's like, dude, I'm going to lose my house.
Police in Florida arrested a man in a local Target for masturbating with an Olaf doll. Worse, he let it go. UFO enthusiasts have declared that Hillary Clinton is the first ET candidate after she pledged to release government files on UFOs and Area 51. Unfortunately, the aliens keep all their files on a private email server. Joe Biden is now the frontrunner and just picked up an endorsement from Michigan's governor only days before the state's primary. And it makes sense that Michigan would love Biden because it kind of looks like a hand trying to touch a lady's hair. Space agency said that the landing of a spacecraft on a comet this week was rougher than they initially thought, with the probe bouncing twice before landing. Only twice, said Spirit Airlines.
Experts say that by 2026, Disney Plus will surpass Netflix to become the top streaming platform in the world. Not so fast, said Pornhub.
DC Comics announced that the new Superman will be bisexual. Yes, they also announced that the Riddler has always been down for whatever.
By the way, can the media please stop getting us all riled up with headlines like, will porn star bring down president? Is Mueller moving in for the kill? Just stop teasing us if there's no payoff. I'll tell the media the same thing I told my high school girlfriend. I'm totally fine waiting, but then you gotta stop rubbing the outside of my pants.
And I get that it's hard to pronounce a lot of these names, but that's what makes award shows so fun. I mean, just imagine John Travolta as he introduces the wickedly talented DeVito Olajuwon.
Amazon announced that their new Lord of the Rings TV series will be called Rings of Power, though I'm personally more excited for the spin-off Gollum in Paris.
All that I am, and I am all the things I said I'd be. Oh, because of you, I'm gonna get you.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky made a televised speech during Sunday's Grammy Awards. It was a heartfelt, impassioned plea to help the people of Ukraine, but missed an opportunity for a legendary G.I. Jane joke. Some military experts have been surprised that despite having superior firepower, the Russian army has been slowed by aging equipment, poor motivation, and inept leadership. So basically, they're the Lakers. A new lawsuit accuses Burger King of falsely advertising their Whoppers as bigger than what people actually get. It's the same accusation made in the case of Women versus Michael Che.
Many of the members of Congress attending the State of the Union wore blue and yellow to show their support for Ukraine, while Kamala Harris wore all brown to do what she's done for the last year, disappear into the background.
After McDonald's announced it would stop doing business in their country, Russians have begun hoarding their sandwiches, including some honorary Russians.
Serena Williams criticized the New York Times after it mistakenly printed a picture of her sister, Venus Williams, and labeled it as Serena. Worse, the Times then sent an apology letter to Wendy Williams.
Intelligence officials are saying that Vladimir Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing in Ukraine, which is kind of like Will Smith's agent telling him, "You crushed it at the Oscars." Yesterday, Will Smith resigned from the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences. He wasn't going to, but then Jada gave him that look.
After the U.S. ban on Russian oil, gas prices hit a record high of $4.30 a gallon, which is so expensive that America, we might have to move back in with our ex. Come on, Iraq. You know we never stop loving you, baby.
If Will Smith had been expelled, he would have joined a small group of people kicked out of the Academy, including Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, and Harvey Weinstein, or as they're also known, bad boys for life.
Obama returned to the White House for the first time in 5 years, and he jokingly referred to Joe Biden as vice president. Hey, Barack, don't confuse him.
Fans of the hit HBO show Euphoria have been harshly criticizing the series' creator for sexualizing the high school characters. Plus, it's just not accurate. I mean, take it from me, no one has sex in high school. I also really love that the reason they let Will Smith stay in the audience was that they asked Chris Rock and he said it was okay. So now we just ask the victim right after they get hit in the head? Hey, you cool if the guy who just attacked you hangs around for a while? You don't want to make him mad again.
The new HBO show Gilded Age is being praised for highlighting wealthy black families that lived in New York in the late 1800s until they were driven out by wealthy industrialist Colin Jost I.
I think we should just acknowledge that that was one of the craziest things we will ever see in our lives. It's truly like the Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, but if Janet's nipple slapped Timberlake.
Producers for this year's Oscars announced that presenters will include John Travolta and Lupita Nyong'o, or as Travolta calls her, the wickedly talented Lucretia Barnabas.
Health officials in Washington, D.C. confirmed that a fox that bit a congressman near the Capitol had rabies. Officials suspect the fox contracted rabies when it was bitten by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Governors in several states, including New Hampshire, Ohio, and Utah, have banned the sale of Russian-made vodka. No word yet on brides.
Honestly, I think a real punishment would be to make Will Smith host next year's Oscars. Because trust me, nothing will make you question your choices in life more than hosting an award show.
An alligator in Florida was photographed swimming with a football in its mouth. Turning now to sports news, Tom Brady is missing. Tuesday was International Women's Day, so hopefully you remembered to smile. Germany is now joining the EU to send arms to Ukraine, which is the first time Germany has ramped up military production since that little 6-year gap in their history books.
Justice Jackson was honored Friday at a White House ceremony and said, "We have come a long way toward perfecting our union," which is a direct quote from Ben Affleck's proposal to J-Lo. It was reported that Queen Elizabeth II has permanently moved out of Buckingham Palace, and this is weird, in with John Mayer.